All right. I'm Mary Beth Thornton. I'm the chairman of the town council, and I'd like to call this meeting to order at 7:38. We will begin with a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like everyone to remember those who are affected by COVID, families, friends, of course, our president and statesmen as well. Okay, I pledge allegiance to
the flag
of
of
the
the United States of America
and to
and to the
the
republic
for
for
which
which it
it
stands,
stands,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible.
indivisible, with liberty.
Liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Dawn Cantafio,
Here,
Bill Mecca,
here,
Mike Miller,
here,
Donna Sidell, Mary Isaac,
here,
Tony Cinto,
here,
Keith Klain,
here,
Kevin Shively,
Here.
Thomas Whitmore,
Here.
Mary Beth Thornton,
Here.
Jason Marsh,
here,
Carl Massaro,
Here.
Eric Paulson,
here,
Lori Rosasco Schwartz,
here,
Joanne Glosser Orenstein,
here,
Steve Lemoyne,
here,
Joe Garrix,
Here.
Bruce Elstein,
Here,
Joy Cologne,
here,
Ashley Gaudiano,
here,
Lisa Valente,
here,
and Donna Sidell.
here.
Thank you. We have a quorum. We're all present.
Okay, thank you very much. And now we move to public comment. If there's anyone on this evening who would like to address any of the resolutions that we'll be hearing this evening, now is the time to comment. We'll have special public comment for the first resolution. But if there's anyone else who'd like to speak to any of the others, please raise your hand and I'll call on you and you can speak to anything you'd like on our agenda this evening.
Members of the public wishing to speak may click the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen, or if you're on the phone, press *9.
I don't see anyone raising their hand. I see we have 63 participants, but I don't see anyone raising their hand. Do you, Bill?
It does not appear that anyone wishes to speak.
Okay, so I'd like to close public comment at 7:41. And now I'd like a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting, please, with your name.
Cantafio, so moved.
A second.
Orenstein, second.
Any discussion regarding the minutes of our September meeting? All right, seeing none, I'd like agreement for a unanimous approval of those minutes. Yes. In agreement? Terrific.
Think so,
Okay.
Your Honor.
Unanimous vote. Thank you. Okay, so on to the rest of our meeting. We have some very special items this evening that we're going to talk about. And I'm especially happy because this is a very community-oriented meeting this evening. I'd like to start by talking to all of you out there that today is World Teachers Day. And I'd like to acknowledge all of our teachers all over the world who are all dealing with the pandemic. I can't even imagine what it's been like for them. And everyone's hoping there's a light at the end of the tunnel, but teachers are doing a tremendous job. And the town of Trumbull just wants to thank all of you here in the town of Trumbull and teachers that live in Trumbull and teach in other communities. You're all heroes to us, and we appreciate everything you do every day. So if any of the other council members have anything to say about World Teachers Day, that would be wonderful.
Through the chair,
Yes?
Mary Beth. We just have a few teachers among our group too, so I think it's worth acknowledging those who sit on the council and are teachers or past educators as well. So, I know Joy and Tom and Mr. Lemoyne, and I don't know if I'm missing anybody else, but
No?
thank you to you guys as well.
Yes, thank you to all.
Oh, and Donna, sorry, Donna as well,
Okay.
and
it's
Bill,
okay.
And Bill.
Bill.
There you go.
Bill, sure.
and Bill.
Yes. Right. I mean, it's just a very difficult time and you're all doing a great job. So I just want to acknowledge that. The second thing I want to speak to this evening is I wanted to congratulate our Trumbull Police Department for achieving their Tier 1 accreditation from the
Nice.
Standard Training Council. I'm taking this directly from the Trumbull Times article. Tier 1 is the first of 3 stages and required the department to meet 143 commonly accepted standards of law enforcement practices in areas such as liability, safety, ethics, and training. During the 3-year certification, the Trumbull Police are required to submit annual reports detailing their continued compliance to Tier 1 standards. And so we have our Chief Lombardo on this evening who can take it from here. We'd appreciate hearing from him. Congratulations.
Oh, well, first, thank you, and thank you for having me. Really, this level of accreditation really is for the men and the women of the police department. They do the work day in and day out, every day of the week. And this is something we started, the accreditation process really takes a lot of time. So we started working on it almost about 5 years ago. And Tier 1 was really difficult. There's a lot of evaluation done. There's a lot of measures that are done. And as things continue to change and evolve through policing, we have to continually change some of those policies and update the things that we do. So there's over 100 policies that the members of the department have now. There's 143 standards within those policies. And Tier 1 really speaks to liability. So aside from being seen from outside police experts as a professional agency and delivering top-notch services, it also, our hope is that it does reduce our liability. So I've actually already spoken to the Director of Finance about that because perhaps our insurance rates could be reduced a little bit. But regardless of that, it really focuses on civil liability. As you know, the world we live in today is very litigious, and there's a lot of changes going on in law enforcement throughout the country and even locally throughout the state of Connecticut. There's a police accountability bill that was passed recently. So there's always changes. So we have to keep up with those changes. And as they change, we change. And then not only do we change our policies and make sure our people are trained appropriately, but we have to also have proofs of that. So when we get inspected for recertification, they're going to say, okay, well, we see these policies, but prove to us through reports that you have that you actually follow through this work in the field and that that's the service you actually provide to the community. So there's a lot of work that goes into it. We have an accreditation manager. He's one of our people that's already on the department. And, a lot of accreditation is high standards. So it just keeps us and make sure that we're doing things exactly the way it should be. It's not just us telling us that we're professional. I knew that already, but it's outside experts throughout the state of Connecticut that are saying that this department is up there with the cream of the crop. So I'm very proud of the men and women of the department. They do a great job.
Thank you, Chief Lombardo. We're also very proud of our Trumbull Police Department. We have our Police Commission Chairman on this evening, Ray Baldwin. Would you like to say a few words as well?
Yeah, just a couple of brief things, Madam Chairman. Thank you. First of all, on behalf of the commission, we are very proud of the chief and the staff and the men and women of the Trumbull Police Department. At a time in our country when police departments are being challenged daily, the people of Trumbull can be assured that our officers, are the best trained and best supervised in the state, among the best trained and supervised in the state. And as the chief pointed out, great deal of work. So it was an involved process. We have 2 more steps to go. So Under the leadership of the chief, we have made great strides in professionalizing the police department. I also want to thank my fellow police commissioners. It is our responsibility to do the hiring and promotion of officers, and we had to elevate our standards as well to help the chief and his department achieve the goals that they wanted to. So again, my thanks and appreciation to the chief for his hard work, and also all the men and women in the department. So thank you, Madam Chair.
And thank you very much. And the next item this evening, our EMS earned an award as well, and we have our first selectman on this evening to speak about that.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And good evening to all the council members and all of our guests this evening, especially to the Bolton family. Thank you for coming on and attending this very special meeting this evening. So I was contacted by our EMS chief, Lee Goodman, this morning with some great news, and I'd like to tell you all about that. We actually posted the information on our website this evening. So Trumbull EMS is receiving the prestigious 2020 Connecticut EMS Agency of the Year Award. And on top of that, if that wasn't enough, Trumbull's EMT Meg Zeitler is also receiving the 2020 EMS Vocation Award. I'll just read a few parts of this press release that we put up on the website for everyone. So Trumbull EMS was selected by the Connecticut EMS Advisory Board Council of Regional Presidents to receive the 2020 Connecticut EMS Agency of the Year Award. The Connecticut EMS Agency of the Year Award recognizes an EMS organization that has enhanced the understanding and support of the EMS system through its public service, community education, and contributions to a city, town, region, or the state as a whole. And is Chief Goodman with us, Madam Chairman? If not, I can read her quote.
I don't believe she is, so.
Okay, so let me read what she said. This award is a reflection of our professional care and commitment to serving our community. The Trumbull EMS team has worked together to ensure we continue to deliver high quality care to our community in the emergency setting and as part of our community outreach programs. And certainly we can say that for sure during this time that we've all been dealing with and the COVID issues that our EMS deals with every day, as do our police as well, and as do our teachers. So again, I'm just going to throw my little comments out here in the middle of this to say congratulations to our teachers. We say that all the time. Certainly, again, our teachers are wonderful in Trumbull. We have a wonderful school system, and they are really on the front lines, again, dealing with COVID. So thank you very much for what you do every day for our students. Going back to EMS, the EMS Vocation Award that Meg is receiving recognizes an individual whose chosen career is emergency medical services. Chief Goodman goes on to state that Meg is receiving this award in recognition of her compassion and care for her patients and the community. So just as I am of our whole EMS team, we're all so proud of them to win this award, and also including Meg, who is such an invaluable member of the team. So at some point, the statewide presentation ceremony will be done, but of course it will be following COVID protocols, and we will certainly post that on the website when that's going to happen. So congratulations to EMS and to Meg Zeitler again. And one last comment, if I could, to our chief and to Raven Baldwin. Certainly the certification of our police department is a wonderful achievement, and it really does put in the spotlight our policemen and women, and we thank them for their services that they provide us again every day when they go to work. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, First Selectman Tesoro. And this just highlights all of the wonderful reasons that we enjoy living in this town, this great community. which takes us to our first resolution on the agenda, which is one of the most special resolutions that I'll ever bring to the floor. And I'm going to ask Councilman Seidel, would you please bring this resolution to the floor for us?
Can everybody hear me?
Now
We
we
good?
can-
Okay, it keeps going off. It goes into its own world. Okay, resolution TC 28-107. Be it resolved that a memorial designation in the name of Mary Ellen Bolton, namely Mary Ellen Way, is hereby added to the entrance to Jane Ryan School abutting Shady Lane. Would you like me to give the full resolution now after it?
Yes, please.
Okay, here I go. Full resolution. Whereas Mary Ellen Bolton was the principal of Jane Ryan School for 10 years and was loved by all of her staff, students, and families, her love and leadership touched thousands of lives throughout her 33 years in education. Her mere presence brightened any room she walked into by her smile, her laughter, and her ever-present joy. And whereas the Jane Ryan School Fathers Club and the town considered naming the entrance to Jane Ryan School Mary Ellen Way. Oh, there's more. Sponsored by Joy Cologne, Bruce Elstein, Ashley Gordiano, Joseph Jerix, Stephen Lemoyne, and Lisa Valente.
Yes, thank you, Donna.
You're
I'll
welcome.
second Dawn Contafio.
Thank you very much. And so I don't believe there's a committee report. So I would like to hand this over to Mr. Vincent Lipinski. I believe he's on this evening and would like to speak.
Yes, I am. Thank you. Thank you, Mary Beth. I appreciate it. This is, first of all, this is an honor for being here. I appreciate Lisa and Mary Beth for contacting me and asking me to do this. It's something that truly means a lot. Little bit of background. I was on my family, I've got 4 kids, me and my wife, and we've had kids at Jane Ryan beginning in 1999, and the last one graduated in 2014. So we spent a lot of years at Jane Ryan, and we were lucky to have Bob DeCerbo for 1 year, Bob Gabriel for a whole lot of years, and Mary Ellen Bolton for the last few years. And I'll tell you something, any public school that was lucky enough to have 3 principals as strong as these 3 for the amount of time, you're looking at 30 years plus to have 3 principals. I don't know if anywhere else we've done it in this town. I don't know who's done it in other towns, but we were very lucky to have all 3 of them. I was on the Fathers Club my entire time from 99 to 2014, and I was the vice president for my final 11 years. And Jane Ryan holds a huge piece of my heart, my wife's heart, and my 4 kids' hearts. My kids who are out of college still talk about it. My kid in college still talks about it. And my high school senior still talks about it and still does volunteer work at Jane Ryan every chance he gets. So it's a huge part. And let's face it, elementary school, our kids are there for kindergarten to 5th grade. They go to middle school, they're there for 3 years. They go to high school, they're there to 4 years. They go to college, they're there for 4 years. Elementary school, being that it's during the most important period of growth in their life, and the fact that they're there the longest really has a huge part, the person they are when they're 70. So that's why elementary schools mean so much to me, and people like these 3 principals we're lucky enough to know. I was honored when I was asked by Gary Cioffi, who at the time was assistant superintendent in town, to be on the search committee that he was chairing to find a replacement for Bob Gabriel. And I'll tell you something, I love Bob to death, and I didn't think there was any way we could replace Bob. And I sat for 2 days and listened to interviews for 2 days. And we had some very nice people come through and some really nice candidates for principals of other schools. I didn't see anybody that I thought could replace Bob Gabriel and be the Jane Ryan principal for the next 10 years. A couple of days went by. We're interviewing people. Halfway through, or at the end of the day, Gary would go around the room and ask each one of us on the committee to say who our, top 3 candidates were. And every single time he came to me, I said, I don't have any, Gary. I'm sorry. And after a while, it kind of became a joke because they were like, let's just skip Vin because he's going to tell us there aren't any. So lo and behold, we're doing our last, we've been in there for a couple days. We're doing our last interview. Everyone's tired. Everyone wants to go home. It's dinner time. We've been there since early in the morning. And here comes a woman by the name of Mary Ellen Bolton, who walks into the room, sits down at the head of the table, big smile on her face, looks at everybody on the committee and says, I'm the next principal at Jane Ryan School. And that was my first experience of Mary Ellen Bolton. We went on and interviewed her. About 3 questions in, I knew she was the person. And when we were done and she left the room and Gary asked around the room, okay, let's go around and get our top 1. And when it got to me, he was ready for me to say no one. And I looked at him and said, Mary Ellen Bolton. And then he goes around the room and he goes, okay, who's our second choice? And he gets to me and I went, Mary Ellen Bolton. And then he got to me again. And who's your third choice, Vin? Mary Ellen Bolton. And everybody kind of chuckled and it was kind of a joke, but I was as serious as you can imagine. Luckily for the town of Trumbull and for Jane Ryan, Mary Ellen Bolton was approved by the Board of Ed and was hired and became the principal at Jane Ryan in 2011. I had the privilege to work closely with her as the vice president of Father's Club on Father's Club events that were not Father's Club that she and I just worked on together, or I was lucky enough to work with her on. Many, many different things at the school that it was just so fun to work with her. And I got to spend so much time with her. We talked a lot about family, school, the world, good things in life, bad things in life, how to treat people. And this woman was just impeccable. I'm not sure she had a flaw. I don't know how she did the amount of things she did. She worked with Ray closely at St. Vincent's. As I said to Donald Ng of the Trumbull Times the other day, I think there was 35 hours in the Mary Ellen day because I don't know how she did it all. So when back in September, I was talking to some of the guys who are on the Father's Club now. The Father's Club at Jane Ryan was the flagship Father's Club in this town back around 1990. And it's amazing how close the group is. Even today, there's a bunch of Father's Club alumni that still hang out and still chat and still do things together and still go to the dinners for the current Father's Club. So we get to meet these guys who have kids there now. And it's great to see how it just keeps going. And we were talking back in September about what can be done to honor Mary Ellen. And one of the things we talked about was renaming a award that one of the 5th grade students gets. And I was kind of like, do you really want to, Mary Ellen's better than a hand-me-down award. Let's face it. And someone, I wish I can remember, I don't remember who, but someone came up with the idea of naming the street after her. And other people came up with scholarships and other things. And there's a variety of things. And I said, guys, since I'm not on the Father's Club right now, I'm long gone. I really don't feel right talking about things that have to do with the school or in the school today. But I have no problem talking about outside of the school. And I'll take this street name on. And I'm going to reach out to Vicky and ask her for advice and direction. So on September 8th, I texted Vicky. She immediately replied. And we went back and forth with a couple of texts. She said it was a great idea. She connected me with George Estrada of Public Works. We exchanged some emails. And I figured, this was going to it's nothing that's going to happen quickly, right? These things don't happen fast. So I wasn't even going to follow up for about 30 days. And then Mary Ellen passed. And I decided to reach back out to Vicky and to George and say, hey guys, I was going to give you a lot of time before I came back and became a nudge. But the fact that she passed yesterday, this was the day after, I felt the urge to reach out to you guys. They were both incredibly in favor of the plan from day one. They suggested it ultimately come here to the town council. And I'd like to share, I'm going to do a screen share here. Hopefully you guys could see it. If you look at this map that is on the screen, you will see Jane Ryan has a Park Lane address, and here's Park Lane down at the bottom. I'm hoping you can see my cursor. If you can't, you'll see Park Lane down at the bottom. When you turn into Park Lane, you're on a road called Shady Lane. Shady Lane then takes a turn as it goes east. There's a house there at the intersection that has an address of Shady Lane, but then you'll notice the red line. Then if we go up to the top of the picture, you'll see Mitchell Road comes in off of Channing. And it kind of stops in the parking lot. It kind of goes through the parking lot, which seems a little weird, but it kind of stops at the parking lot, at least according to Google's maps. So there's this area between Shady Lane intersection and Mitchell Road where I have it highlighted in red that really isn't named anything. So my first thought when I was talking to the guys was, hey, how about Bolton Boulevard? And then somebody said, how about Mary Ellen Way? Because the great thing about Mary Ellen was the way about her. She was caring, she was loving, she truly cared for the school and the students and the faculty and the families. And it was a very big part she was a very big part of all our lives. This school I know was a big part of her life. So we talked about Mary Ellen Way in that section. I've had the honor to talk to Mary Beth Thornton about this, to talk to Lisa Valenti about this, to talk to Carl Massaro about this, and to also talk to Superintendent Martin Semmel about this. And everybody seems to be in agreement as when you have someone that is this great of a person, and when you have someone that meant so much to one school, that it makes all the sense in the world to name this patch of road Mary Ellen Way. And one of the things I'd like to suggest, and I've discussed it with Mr. Semmel, and I've discussed it with Mary Beth and Lisa and Carl, is that when this gets done, notice I didn't say if, when this gets done, they cover the sign up with something. And we have a quote unquote ceremony where Vicky can come out and say a couple words. The superintendent can come say a couple words, and Tim Bolton, Mary Ellen's husband, can come say a couple words, and we unveil the street sign. And I talked to Superintendent Semmel about doing this during the school day. We obviously discussed logistics during COVID. We talked about maybe just having the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. The kindergarten students never met Mary Ellen. The first graders really were only in school for half a year last year. So that's why we kind of came up with, hey, what about 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders? You really only have half the kids there, so that's going to cut that down. And as I said to him, I said, hey, you guys are going outside for fire drills. This is kind of the same thing. So I can sit here and talk about what a great human being Mary Ellen is. I'm going to give you one personal story that is dear to my heart. Mary Ellen was always great, not only to my immediate family, but my mom and dad as well. And one of the great things that Jane Ryan School always did was on Veterans Day, they'd have the kids bring in their veteran relatives, and my kids would bring my dad in all the time, and my mom and dad would come, and Mary Ellen would greet my mom and dad with hugs and kisses and call them by first name, and she'd see them around the schools at pumpkin fairs and Super Bowl breakfast. And so Mary Ellen not only got to know me and my kids, but she also knew my parents. And my dad died in 2017 of cancer. 11 months later, my brother died of the same cancer. And 2 weeks later, I was diagnosed with the same cancer. And I ran into Mary Ellen and Tim at a local restaurant, and we chatted a couple of minutes. And they both hugged me and they both told me everything would be great. And it was probably the worst time of my life, as you can imagine. I had numerous conversations with Mary Ellen after that. She gave me strength. She helped me through a tough time. She told me to lean on my family and my faith, and I'd get through it. And lo and behold, she has her cancer issues. So Mary Ellen not only was a special person to me because she was the Jane Ryan principal, she's a special person to me because she was a friend. And when her family asked me to be a altar pallbearer at her funeral, I was floored. It was the last thing I ever expected. And I was honored to do that, anything for Mary Ellen when she was alive. And I'm honored to do for anything for her after she's gone. And I'm going to leave you with this. As we pull into the cemetery, that the last day we got to spend with her, I noticed her plot was less than a football field from my dad's. And I looked at the Bolton family and I said, oh my God, the poor people that are buried here, your mother's over there and my father's over there. They're this far apart. These people are never going to get any rest. There's going to be a lot of chatting going on around here. So that's how much the Bolton family means to the Lipinski family. That's how much I think she means to the Trumbull family. And I know how much she means to the Jane Ryan family. So with that, I'm going to shut up. And I'm going to hope that you all pass this resolution. I know her husband is on, Tim. I know Ray, who knows her very well, probably better than I do, is also here, and they can speak to this better than I can and speak to her. But I just hope you strongly consider it. I hope you strongly pass it. And I hope we are able to do the unveiling ceremony so these kids and these teachers, especially these kids, nowadays, every time you turn on the news, there's a ceremony or for lack of a better word, there's people burning buildings and knocking down statues and things like that. I think it would be great for kids to see something going up instead of something coming down. And with that, I will be quiet. And Mary Beth, thank you for your time. Council, thank you for your time. Vicky, thank you for your time. I appreciate it as well. And with that, I'm going to mute.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lipinski. And now I'm going to ask Ray Baldwin if he would like to say a few words.
I never considered Vince Lipinski to be a tough act to follow, but tonight I have to. Vince, that was a beautiful tribute, man. I really, I got to know Mary Ellen through Tim when I was the president and CEO of St. Vincent's Special Needs Services, and their daughter Katie was in the Ferroletto Center School. And I got to know Tim well, and I thought he was a pretty good guy. And then I got to meet his wife, and I said, wow, he really upgraded there. And then when she took the position at Jane Ryan School, I had a double benefit. I had Mary Ellen Bolton on my board of directors at Special Needs, and she's an extraordinary person, as we all know. But my granddaughters started Jane Ryan School, and got to meet Mary Ellen, and my kids both live in Trumbull. And the great thing about Trumbull, was pointed out before, is they asked me, coming back to town after having been away for years, where was the best place for them to settle in and live, and what school is the best school system? And I said, that's the one thing you never have to worry about in the town of Trumbull. You can move anywhere you want to, anywhere you find a house that you like, because you're going to wind up in a school district, a school. You don't have to worry about whether it's going to be good. It's going to be great. It's just a matter how great it's going to be. But we got the best of the best with Mary Ellen Bolton, that's for sure. She took my granddaughter right away. As Vinny said, she would have the grandparents and parents in for Veterans Day. I went to a number of ceremonies at Jane Ryan School for that. And she's just an extraordinary lady. But more than that, they have an extraordinary family. If you got to know all of the Boltons, they're just a remarkable family. They gave me a great deal of support when I was at Special Needs, and So I think this is a great tribute. Vinny, I applaud you and the men of the Jane Ryan Fathers Club for taking this on. It's a great tribute. And with that, I'm going to shut up and bring Tim on. So thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And Tim, would you like to say a few words?
No, I'm muted.
There you go.
Wow. To say I'm a little overwhelmed would be an understatement. I was just thinking the first time I ever heard of Jane Ryan was Mary Ellen telling me that her good friend Donna Seidel had said, you know, there's an opening there, I want you to go for it. And she put her hat in the ring. Vinny reminded me, you know, when she first got the call for the interview with Jane Ryan, we were on our way to out to Long Island to go to Franklin General Hospital to see her mother for the last time. And that was a day and a half after my dad had passed away. And she took the phone call, or before she took it, she goes, I can't even do this right now. And I said, just you know, take the phone call, see what they say. And she said, I'm just going to put it off as long as I can. And we had to bury our parents. And she went into that interview. I'd never heard that story, Vin. I appreciate that. I didn't know she said that, but I'm not surprised she did. I first, you know, when I heard about this dedication the other day when Vicki and Mary Beth had texted me, the image that came to mind was Mary would always work during the summer, like so hard at her opening presentation for the staff and for the kindergartners. And she would roll out the red carpet when the bus would pull up and the kids would get out on the red carpet. She'd have a red dress on and she greeted each child as they came off. And she got to know all their names, which was extraordinary. My image that I had when I was hearing about this Mary Ellen Way was her just kind of putting her arms out and hugging that school community perpetually. And that's the image I hold in my heart. And I think what a beautiful way to celebrate her and to remember her and to allow all the children that are fortunate enough to go to that beautiful place to get to know her a little bit by receiving a hug from her. So I would just be so grateful, would be an understatement, but eternally grateful for this privilege to, because Ray was right. I mean, she was a big upgrade for me, right? But just to be able to share my life with her, the better part of my life with her, and just not even 3 weeks after the good Lord called her home, to be able to be overwhelmed like this, but just to celebrate her and know that she made such an impact on this community and so many people is so gratifying, and it's so consoling. I really appreciate everybody's efforts from the bottom of my heart, my family as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tim. And I really love your image that will stay with all of us, that she is giving Jane Ryan a perpetual hug. That's so beautiful. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to this resolution? If not, I am remiss. There was a committee report. Donna, would you like to speak?
I did want to say just a few words, and I'll make it short. Mary Ellen and I, as you know, were elementary principals in Stratford, and our friendship was defined by support, laughter, and much joy, always. You know, we just support each other. I know many of the Jane Ryan, if not all of the staff, is on tonight to see this, so I'm very happy about that. And you just need to know that each and every day, they keep Mary Ellen's spirit alive in that school. They're always laughing, keeping it positive, just like she would like it. And if she heard all of this about the Fathers Club, the town of Trumbull, she would just laugh and she would say her final words, "It's all good." Because that's one of her expressions. So thank you for letting me speak in honor of a great friend and a great colleague.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Donna.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And Councilman Shively, can you please read, as part of the minutes, there was a statement from Councilman Valenti.
With pleasure, Madam Chair. Lisa Valenti was not present, but had requested her statement be read into the record. Ms. Contafio read the following. Jane Ryan is an amazing community of caring people nestled in the neighborhood of residential homes with children riding bikes and walking through the neighborhood to enjoy the field and playground at Jane Ryan. Jane Ryan School is my neighbor, and I often greet the teachers my children have had as I walk my dog or get the mail. I did not have the pleasure of meeting Mary Ellen Bolton, but in talking to Vin Lipinski and hearing the emotion in his voice, she is well deserving of having the entrance named after her as a tribute. I've spoken to many of the neighbors with children currently enrolled, and teachers, and everyone I mentioned it to had tears in their eyes. I fully support this resolution and the thoughtfulness of Vin Lipinski. Sincerely, Lisa Valenti. And I will mention that the motion carried by unanimous consent. And I think that's a good way to turn it back to the vote of the council.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Councilman Shively. And our first selectman would like to say a few words as well.
Thank you. I'll be very, very brief. First, I just, on behalf of the town of Trumbull, I just want to share our deepest sympathies with the entire Bolton family. I did know Mary Ellen, had conversations with her over the years. She's just a wonderful, wonderful person. And I will tell you, just share one story. As I was campaigning through the Jane Ryan neighborhoods, as I was running for first selectman a couple times, I can't tell you how many people would just, I'd go up to the door and all they wanted to talk about was Jane Ryan Elementary School and Mary Ellen. That was it. They just loved that school and loved her, and what a tribute. And I too, Tim, your image of the hug that Mary Ellen will, perpetually be giving Jane Ryan School will stick with all of us forever. So on behalf of the town, again, thank you to the Bolton family for sharing Mary Ellen with us. We were so lucky to have her. Thank you.
Thank you, First Selectman Tesoro. And thank you to all the Bolton family here this evening. Thank you for sharing Mary Ellen with all of us. Okay. Is there any further discussion regarding this resolution? Hearing none, I'd like to call it to a vote. And we agree that this is a unanimous vote?
Yes.
Thank you. For the record, we
Yes.
unanimous vote for resolution TC 28-107.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. This town council really shows what it means to be a loving town council in a great town. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Lipinski. Councilman Whitmire, would you please bring resolution TC 28-96 to the floor for us?
Okay, thank you, Madam Chairman. Resolution TC 28-96. Be it resolved that the town attorney is hereby authorized to settle a workers' compensation claim known as Donna Marie McCarthy versus the Town of Trumbull Board of Education.
I'll second Dawn Contafio.
Thank you very much. Committee report, please.
Sorry, bear with me. The PDF just closed on me. Let me grab it back open here. Here we go. Moved by Contafio, seconded by Miller to enter into executive session to discuss pending litigation. Vote carried by unanimous consent. The Finance Committee entered into executive session to discuss pending litigation at 7:10 with the following people present. Finance Committee members Kevin Shively, Chairman, Don Contafio, Vice Chairman, Michael Miller, Tony Cinto, Fred Green of CIRMA, Michael Bonapane, Human Relations Director Thomas McCarthy, Town Attorney Shopik, First Selectman Vicky Tesoro, Town Council Chairman Mary Beth Thornton, Assistant Finance Director Dan Martin. Moved by Contafio, seconded by Miller to end executive session. Motion carried by unanimous consent. The Finance Committee ended executive session at 7:34 p.m. Vote on the resolution. Motion carried by unanimous consent.
Thank you very much. Is there any discussion regarding this resolution? Okay, hearing none. May we also have a unanimous vote consent to approve this resolution? I'm seeing
Yes.
his head shake yes.
Yes.
Okay, terrific. Let the record reflect that there was a unanimous approval to resolution TC 28-96. Thank you very much. Councilman Paulson, would you please bring resolution TC 28-108 to the floor for us?
Yes, certainly, Madam Chairman. Resolution TC 28-108, be it resolved that $253,947 is hereby appropriated from the general fund to various accounts. See accounts attached.
Second, Dawn Contafio.
Thank you. Committee report, please.
The resolution is for fiscal year 2020 to balance the accounts. This will not affect the snow removal budget for this fiscal year. The Board of Finance knew that the snow removal account was under budget by $145,000. They can't move funds from different accounts, which is why this appropriation is from the general fund. The food distribution line item was at the senior center food pantry. People were coming in for food to the pantry during the height of the COVID crisis. This has all been paid out to date and represents balancing accounts for the fiscal year 2020 year-end close. The Board of Finance had approved all of the finance resolutions unanimously. In the vote here, motion carried by unanimous consent.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any discussion regarding this resolution? All right, seeing none, may we also have approval for a unanimous consent?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Let the record reflect that there was unanimous approval for resolution TC 28-108. Councilman Mecca, would you please bring resolution TC 28-109 to the floor for us?
Yes, Madam Chair. Resolution TC 28-109, be it resolved that $22,978 is hereby appropriated from the general fund to account 0103-0200-578802, maintenance rep-equipment building.
Second, and Dawn Contafio.
Thank you. Committee report, please.
Finance has already transferred funds to mitigate the overages. This is what is left to balance the account. Included in the agenda packet is a breakout for the $31,000 of non-anticipated repairs that occurred throughout the year or during the year. This had been approved by the Board of Finance. Vote, motion carried by unanimous consent.
Thank you. Any discussion regarding this resolution? Seeing none, again, I'd like an approval for unanimous consent to pass this resolution.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Let the record reflect that resolution TC 28-109 passed unanimously. Councilman Contafio, would you please bring resolution TC 28-110 to the floor for us?
Yes, Madam Chair. Be it resolved that $69,929 is hereby transferred from Town Hall contingency to various accounts. See accounts attached.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second, Joanne Glau.
Thank you. Committee report, please.
Ms. Hammers of the Board of Finance had raised a good question at the Board of Finance meeting with regard to why there was so much extra money in the contingency account. The chair had discussed this with Mr. Martin earlier, and he explained the following. The 2020 contingency account accounts for the raises that were anticipated by the union contracts not settled, which was almost every union. Throughout the year, most of the accounts departments were able to cover the retroactive raises through their own department budget. What was left over and not covered by the department's budgets is the subject of this resolution. Many of the departments were able to cover what they could because of COVID and that less services were being offered. The contingency line item has to be fully budgeted for based on anticipated raises. It is required. This was not a budgetary mistake. One of the unions had 2 years worth of raises because they hadn't settled the contract. When the year is closed out, funds not used go back to the general fund. Motion carried by unanimous consent.
Thank you very much. Any discussion regarding Resolution TC 28-110? All right, seeing none, may I have approval for a unanimous consent to pass this resolution as well?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Let the record reflect Resolution TC 28-110 passed by unanimous consent. And with no further business, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved on Contafio.
Second.
Thank you very much. Everyone, thank you so much for participating this evening. This was one of the best council meetings I've ever had, and it makes me very proud to live here in Trumbull. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.